The night was heavy with silence until a sudden ring shattered the calm, making Michael Hale flinch in his dimly lit study. The answering machine clicked, and a trembling voice whispered, "They know where you are." The line cracked with static, and then fell silent. Michael's pulse hammered, his breath catching as he glanced toward the window. A scream erupted from the distance, raw and piercing, fading into the night as if dragged away. He rushed outside, but the street was empty under the pale glow of a flickering street lamp. His eyes locked on a brass key lying on the ground, etched with strange, jagged symbols. Michael crouched, whispering, "What the hell is this?" His reflection shimmered in the key's surface, fractured and unfamiliar. The shadows stretched unnaturally long behind him, as though something unseen was watching. Michael returned inside, clutching the key, his breath shallow, as though the night air had followed him in. He set it on the desk, staring at the etched symbols that seemed to writhe under lamplight. The voicemail's warning replayed in his mind, "They know where you are." He muttered, "Who are they?" His hands trembled as he rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of it. The study felt smaller, the walls pressing in shadows heavy in the corners. He thought of the old oak desk inherited from his late uncle, its smallest drawer locked for years. Michael whispered, "Could this belong to it?" The key vibrated faintly against the wood, a low hum that seemed alive. A chill crept across his skin, whispering of danger and secrets waiting to be revealed. The oak desk loomed scarred and weathered, like a battlefield of forgotten years. Michael brushed his hand along the rough surface, his fingertips catching on deep grooves. The smallest drawer had always resisted, locked tight, no matter his attempts. Tonight, with the key in his palm, the desk felt alive, its wood breathing. "If this is meant for you," he whispered, sliding the key closer. His pulse thundered, sweat dampening his collar as the symbols aligned with faint carvings on the drawer's edge. The ticking clock seemed to pause for a moment, too long time itself holding its breath. Michael stared at the lock, every nerve screaming that the answer waited within. A sudden creak cut through the silence, sharp as breaking bone. Michael froze, turning toward the door, heart pounding. The study door stood ajar, though he remembered locking it. A cold draft slipped in, carrying the faint smell of damp earth. Shadows spilled across the floor, heavy as though a figure lingered unseen. He whispered, "Hello?" His voice trembled, vanishing into the dark. Only faint footsteps answered, fading down the hall. Michael clutched the key, knuckles white, fear crawling across his spine. Someone knew he was here. Someone had entered unseen. Michael slammed the door shut, bolting it with shaking hands. His chest heaved, breath ragged, as silence reclaimed the house. He leaned against the wood, whispering, "You're losing it." Yet he knew the truth, he was not alone. The voicemail, the scream, the key, everything pointed here. The locked drawer seemed to call, its grain shifting in lamplight. "If this answers anything I need to know," he muttered. The hum from the key deepened, resonating with the drawer, soft but undeniable. Fear gave way to resolve as he pressed the key to the lock. The first click echoed like a gunshot through the still room. The key slid into the drawer's lock with a metallic sigh, as though it had been waiting. Michael Hale felt the vibration deepen into his bones, his hand trembling as he turned it. The mechanism clicked with a hollow echo that made him shiver. The drawer creaked open slowly, revealing scraps of yellowed paper bound with twine. Strange symbols matched the ones carved into the key, etched in black ink that shimmered faintly in the lamplight. Michael whispered, "What secret were you hiding, Uncle Richard?" The room seemed to darken, as if the walls absorbed the light. The air carried the smell of damp soil and iron, filling his lungs like a warning. Michael's heart raced as he reached for the bundle. Michael spread the papers across the desk, his hands trembling. The symbols swirled in complex patterns, and at the center of each page, a map fragment seemed to take shape. He leaned closer, whispering, "A map? But to where?" His uncle's handwriting filled the margins, notes written in frantic strokes, as though time had been running out. Michael's stomach tightened, realizing this was no ordinary desk. This was a vault. A sudden cold draft blew through the study, though no window was open, scattering the papers. He scrambled to catch them, but one slipped beneath the desk. When he reached down, his fingers brushed against a second hidden compartment. Michael pried at the compartment, and it opened with a snap, revealing a small leather-bound journal. Its surface was cracked with age, the initials RH carved faintly into the cover. Michael muttered, "Uncle Richard, what did you do?" He opened it slowly, pages brittle filled with notes about secret societies, strange rituals, and something called the Order of Ash. His breath quickened as the name repeated across several entries, accompanied by sketches of symbols identical to the ones on the key. Suddenly the phone rang again, shrill and violent. Michael froze, staring at it as dread surged through him. Michael lifted the phone, his hand slick with sweat. The line hissed, alive with static, and then a woman's voice whispered, "Stop before they find you." The voice was urgent, trembling, filled with fear. Michael whispered, "Who are you?" But the call ended in silence, replaced by the faint rhythmic sound of breathing. He slammed the receiver down chest, tight, his mind spiraling. Someone knew he had the journal, someone knew he had unlocked the drawer. His thoughts darted to Laura Kane, the only friend of his uncle who might know the truth. He muttered, "I need to find her." Michael shoved the journal into his coat, his movements frantic. The hum from the key grew louder, though it now lay silent on the desk as if alive without touch. He whispered, "This is bigger than I imagined." The house creaked, every sound magnified by his fear. He bolted the study door again, but the shadows felt closer, pressing against the glass of the windows. He muttered, "I can't stay here." Michael's eyes fixed on the dark street outside where the lamplight flickered. Somewhere out there Laura Kane might have answers, but somewhere out there danger waited too. He slipped into the night, carrying the weight of secrets he could no longer ignore. Michael Hale hurried through the darkened streets, his coat pulled tight against the cold wind. The journal weighed heavy inside his pocket as though it carried more than paper. He muttered, "Laura will know. She has to." Turning the corner, he froze at the sight of flashing police lights, staining the night in red and blue. His heart dropped when he saw the stretcher on the curb covered by a white sheet. He whispered, "No, please not her." A neighbor murmured that Laura Kane had been found lifeless outside her home. No signs of struggle, only terror frozen on her face. Michael's chest tightened, grief mixing with dread. Laura was gone, and her silence would echo louder than any scream. Michael's knees weakened as he stumbled closer, but officers pushed him back, their stern faces leaving no room for questions. One officer muttered, "Step away, sir. This is a crime scene." His breath came sharp and uneven, his vision blurring as Laura Kane's lifeless form was carried into the ambulance. He whispered, "She tried to warn me." His voice cracked under the weight of guilt. Every word she left unsaid became a dagger twisting in his chest. Michael knew now that the journal and key had claimed their first victim, and it was only the beginning. The shadows surrounding the Order of Ash had grown darker. As the ambulance drove away, Michael lingered in the cold night, fighting the weight of despair. A rough voice came from the shadows, "You're in deeper than you think." He spun to find a stranger leaning against a lamppost, cigarette glowing faintly in the dark. The man introduced himself as Daniel, cross eyes sharp beneath a weathered face. Michael asked, "Why are you following me?" Daniel smirked, "Not following, helping. But you're making enemies that won't stop." His tone carried both warning and reluctant alliance. Michael's instincts screamed not to trust him, yet desperation tethered him to this stranger. Michael demanded, "How do you know about this?" Daniel flicked ash to the ground, answering, "Because I've seen what the Order of Ash does. They leave nothing but silence." His voice was grim, heavy with truth. Michael's stomach churned as he gripped the journal tighter. Daniel leaned closer, lowering his tone. "Your uncle wasn't just writing stories, he was part of them until he turned against them. That's why they're coming for you now." Michael whispered, "Then help me." Daniel looked away, his jaw tight. "Help is dangerous. Trust even more so." His reluctance bled through every word, yet he didn't walk away. Michael followed Daniel through the back alleys, their footsteps echoing against wet brick wall. Daniel muttered, "If you want answers, you'll need to see what they left behind." Michael's pulse quickened, every shadow along the alley seeming alive. They stopped at a boarded warehouse, Daniel's hand steady as he pried open a side door. Inside, dust and darkness swallowed them whole. Faint candle remnants littered the floor, symbols carved deep into stone walls, identical to the key's markings. Michael whispered, This is their place." His voice trembled as fear clawed at him. Daniel said, "And Laura's death was just the beginning." Inside the warehouse, Michael Hale trailed his hand over the carved walls, symbols glowing faintly like embers of an old fire. Daniel Cross whispered, "This was where they gathered before your uncle broke away." Michael's chest tightened as he recalled Richard's absence during his childhood. "So he knew about all of this," Michael muttered, voice strained. Daniel nodded, eyes shadowed. "And he paid dearly for it." A sudden clatter echoed from the upper rafters, making both men jolt. Michael whispered, "We're not alone." Shadows shifted above them, moving with deliberate intent. The sanctuary of silence was shattered, replaced by the threat of unseen eyes. The footsteps above grew heavier until a figure stepped into the light. Detective Harris, age 50, with graying hair and tired eyes, appeared, gun raised steady. Michael's stomach dropped as Harris said, "You should not be here." Daniel muttered, "I knew it." Michael stammered, "You knew my uncle." Harris's jaw tightened as he lowered his weapon slightly. "Your uncle trusted me once, but the order does not forgive betrayal." Michael's throat constricted as realization struck. Harris was not there to protect him but to silence him. The broken authority figure revealed his cracks, stained with loyalty to a darker cause. Michael stepped back, his pulse racing as Harris descended the stairs with deliberate calm. "Your uncle thought he could outsmart them," Harris said, voice laced with contempt. Daniel clenched his fists, muttering, "And they used you to finish him." Harris's eyes burned with anger, yet regret flickered beneath. Michael whispered, "So Richard's death, it wasn't natural." Harris's silence confirmed everything. Daniel growled, "He's not here to talk. He's here to make sure you never leave." The air thickened with betrayal, a weight pressing down on every breath. Michael realized the line between ally and enemy had shattered. Before Harris could raise his gun, Daniel lunged forward, shoving Michael aside. The shot rang out, sparks bursting against the wall. Michael scrambled to cover, heart pounding as dust rained from the ceiling. Harris growled, "You can't run forever, Hale." Daniel shouted, "He's not yours to kill." Their words collided with the thunder of footsteps as another presence stirred. From the shadows at the far wall, a tall, silent figure emerged, cloaked in black, watching with unnerving stillness. Michael's blood froze as the silent observer stepped into view, saying nothing but shifting the balance of fear with his presence. The silent observer stood motionless, yet his presence was louder than words. Harris lowered his weapon, unease flickering across his hardened face. Daniel hissed, "They sent him. That means we're already out of time." Michael gripped the journal, his knuckles white, whispering, "What does he want?" The observer tilted his head slightly, eyes glinting beneath the hood, before retreating into the shadows. Harris cursed under his breath, turning away as if the fight had been stolen from him. Michael's world tilted with the realization that even enemies bowed to something greater. The order's reach was deeper than he feared. Michael Hale and Daniel Cross hurried from the warehouse, their footsteps sharp against the wet streets. Michael muttered, "That man, he didn't even need to speak." Daniel's jaw was tight as he replied, "The silent observer doesn't speak. He decides." The words rattled through Michael's chest, colder than the night air. Every shadow felt alive, watching, following, waiting. Michael gripped the journal close, whispering, "Then he knows we have this." Daniel shot a look at him, "Which means we'll be hunted until it's theirs or you're gone." Fear gnawed at Michael, yet beneath it, a grim determination grew with every step. They reached an abandoned diner, its neon sign flickering faint red. Inside, dust coated the booths, and cracked tiles groaned under their steps. Daniel dropped heavily into a seat, muttering, "We need to plan." Michael set the journal on the table, his fingers trembling. He whispered, "My uncle hid all this for a reason. What if opening it was a mistake?" Daniel leaned forward, voice low. "Mistake or not, it's yours now." The flickering neon bathed Michael's face in pulses of red like warning beacons. He felt exposed, raw, every beat of silence, another reminder of how fragile their time was. The journal lay open, its pages filled with sketches of circles, intersecting lines and names scratched violently as if erased from history. Michael whispered, "The Order of Ash." They were everywhere. His eyes darted across entries describing rituals and betrayals, dates aligning with his uncle's final years. Daniel muttered, "They used to meet here. Places like this. You feel it, don't you?" Michael shivered as the air thickened with memory. He whispered, "And Laura died for this." His voice cracked, but his grip tightened on the pages. Every revelation cut him deeper, but his resolve sharpened with pain. The sound of a door creaking shattered the silence. Michael's head snapped up as a woman stepped inside cautiously. She was Evelyn Hart, age 34, with sharp eyes and a weary expression, her trench coat soaked from rain. Daniel muttered, "She's trouble." Evelyn raised her hand slowly, saying, "I don't want harm. I knew Richard." Michael's chest tightened at the name. She continued, "He left me pieces too. The Order watches me as much as you." Daniel's glare remained hard, yet Michael felt a spark of recognition. Trust was a knife, but Evelyn's words cut straight through his doubt. Evelyn slid a folded letter onto the table, her hands trembling despite her steady gaze. Michael unfolded it and gasped at the identical symbol carved into his uncle's drawer, drawn in black ink. Beneath it were coordinates scrawled hastily, as though written under duress. Evelyn whispered, "He wanted you to finish what he couldn't." Daniel muttered, "Or walk straight into their trap." Michael's pulse thundered as he stared at the numbers etched across the page. The world shrank to that single secret place waiting in the dark. He whispered, "Then that's where we go." Resolve burned sharper than fear. Michael Hale gripped the letter with trembling hands as Evelyn Hart traced the coordinates on the map. Daniel Cross muttered, "It leads outside the city, deep in the woods." Michael whispered, "Then that's where we'll find the truth." The diner's flickering neon light buzzed like a dying heartbeat. Evelyn leaned closer, voice sharp, "But the Order knows this place too. They won't let you reach it alive." Michael's fear tightened around his chest, yet his voice steadied. "Then we go prepared." Daniel's eyes narrowed with reluctant respect. The time for hiding had ended. The path to the climax waited. Hours later, their car rumbled along a narrow road, swallowed by towering pines. Rain lashed the windshield in heavy sheets as wipers squealed. Michael muttered, "Feels like the forest itself wants us gone." Evelyn stared through the storm, whispering, "They chose this place for a reason. Nature hides their sins." Daniel's knuckles were white against the wheel, his jaw locked. The journal lay open on Michael's lap, its pages fluttering with each bump. The coordinates pulled them deeper into isolation. Every mile stretched like a rope tightening around their throats. Well, they were moving closer to the heart of the Order's secret. The car halted at the edge of a clearing where ruins of stone pillars jutted like broken teeth from the earth. Michael whispered, "This is it." Evelyn's breath trembled as she said, "I've seen this in Richard's notes." Daniel scanned the shadows, muttering, "We're not alone." Shapes moved at the tree line, dark figures cloaked and silent. Michael's chest pounded as he clutched the key and journal. The air thrummed with unseen energy symbols, etched on the pillars, glowing faintly like smoldering embers. The Order of Ash had chosen their ground well. Michael realized he was stepping into their lair. A figure stepped from the cloaked crowd, face revealed under torchlight. It was Detective Harris, his expression grim yet conflicted. Michael's voice cracked, "You're part of them." Harris's voice thundered. I was forced, but I chose to survive. Evelyn hissed, You betrayed Richard. Harris's eyes flickered with regret, yet his gun gleamed in his hand. Daniel muttered, This ends tonight. The order's chanting rose around them, a low hum that shook the earth. Michael's grip on the key tightened until his knuckles whitened. Betrayal had a face, and its name was Harris. The climax edged closer with every breath. The chanting rose higher, symbols on the pillars, blazing with firelight. Harris raised his weapon, but the silent observer emerged from the shadows, towering and still. The crowd fell silent, bowing their heads. Michael's voice trembled. He leads them. Evelyn gripped his arm, whispering, Don't let them take the key. Daniel's stance widened, ready to strike, though his eyes flickered with doubt. Harris lowered his gun, fear plain in his eyes as the observer turned toward Michael. The journal pulsed in Michael's grip, glowing faintly like it had awakened. The truth was no longer hidden. It demanded to be revealed. The silent observer raised his hand, and the chanting ceased, replaced by suffocating silence. Michael Hale's chest heaved as every eye fixed on him. Evelyn Hart whispered, He's waiting for you. Daniel Cross shifted closer, muttering, You don't have to play their game. But Michael knew the truth had already chosen him. The journal in his grip pulsed with heat, symbols glowing brighter than ever. Harris stood to the side, his face torn between fear and obedience. Michael whispered, This ends now. His voice cracked but carried into the stillness like a vow. Michael stepped forward, raising the key high as the symbols carved into the pillars flared. The crowd murmured, bowing lower as if the air itself demanded reverence. Evelyn gasped. It responds to you. Harris shouted, You don't know what power you hold. His voice shook as though he feared both Michael and the order's judgment. Daniel hissed, Don't listen. Destroy it before they take you too. Michael's breath shuddered as firelight flickered across his face. His uncle's words echoed from the journal margins, The truth must be unlocked, no matter the cost. Michael felt himself teetering at the edge of fate. The journal burst open, pages whipping violently as unseen wind tore through the clearing. Symbols lifted from the paper, glowing in the air, circling Michael. Evelyn shielded her face, crying out, It's alive. Harris stumbled back, fear twisting his expression. Daniel lunged forward, grabbing Michael's arm, shouting, Fight it before it consumes you. Michael's voice cracked, It's not consuming me. It's showing me. His eyes glowed with reflection of fire and ink as the vision unfolded. He saw Richard's face, warning him of betrayal, of a cycle repeating through bloodlines. Michael whispered, This was never about me alone. The vision shattered, and silence returned, heavy and absolute. Michael collapsed to his knees, clutching the journal, now dark and burned at the edges. The silent observer lowered his hood, revealing hollow eyes, empty, yet commanding. Evelyn gasped and Daniel froze, their breaths caught. Harris dropped his gun, whispering, He was chosen. The cloaked crowd murmured low voices of reverence. Michael raised his head, his face streaked with tears and ash. I won't be your vessel, he whispered, defiant though trembling. The observer tilted his head, then slowly stepped back, dissolving into shadows, as though the night itself swallowed him whole. The flames on the pillars extinguished, leaving only moonlight over broken stone. Michael stood unsteady, Evelyn gripping his arm, Daniel hovering watchful. Harris vanished into the trees, his silence heavier than words. Michael whispered, It isn't over. Evelyn's eyes glistened as she murmured, It never is. The journal in Michael's hands quivered faintly, the last page glowing with a new line of writing. The drawer was only the beginning. His heart clenched as the words burned themselves into the paper. The night was quiet, but the silence promised more to come. The mystery had not ended, it had only awakened.